Every dawn along the banks of the Nile heralded ritual, power, and abundance that culminated in lavish feasts fit for Egypt's divine rulers. From the Old Kingdom through the New Kingdom and beyond, pharaohs presided over daily banquets that embodied religious symbolism, displayed economic might, and showcased culinary ingenuity, while commoners sustained themselves on simple things like barley porridge, flatbreads, and pulses. Royalty indulged in an ever-evolving range of delicacies. So today, let's explore 12 of the most lavish dishes pharaohs had. By examining production methods, symbolic associations, and ritual contexts, let's reconstruct a tableau of meals that fused earthly pleasure with divine service. Number 1. Emmer wheat bread enriched with honey and spices. Bread was the cornerstone of every Egyptian diet, where royal bread transcended sustenance to become art and ritual offering. Emmer wheat, Triticum dicoccum, prized for its protein content and rich flavor, formed the basis of loaves baked for the king. At palace bakeries, saddle querns ground emmer into coarse flour. The resulting dough was kneaded with water, salt, and a spoonful of honey, which not only sweetened the loaf but helped retain moisture. To heighten complexity, palace bakers incorporated spices such as ground coriander, anise, as well as crushed dates. Hieroglyphic recipes archived on ostraka instruct mixing dates into dough until it reached a glossy sheen. Loaves were shaped into symbolic forms: lotus flowers for rebirth, cattle heads for strength, and scarabs for renewal. For pharaohs, those decorative loaves symbolized fertility and divine favor, often offered to gods before consumption. They were then slapped onto the inner walls of cylindrical clay ovens, sealing them with mud-plastered lids. Once baked, the breads emerged with subtly sweet crusts and tender interiors. Number 2. Barley beer infused with dates and medicinal herbs. No banqueting table stood without beer, which Egyptians regarded as a nutritious staple. Known as henget, royal beer differed from coarse brews drunk by laborers. Archaeological residue studies reveal fermentation vats lined with fat to prevent oxidation and reed filters for straining mash. Brewers began with beer bread, lightly baked barley loaves cracked and soaked in water, then allowed natural yeast to initiate fermentation. To craft imperial ales, vintners added pitted dates, crushed juniper berries, and aromatic herbs like mint, coriander, and hyssop. The addition of these botanicals boosted both flavor and medicinal qualities, as described in medical papyri prescribing herb-infused beer for digestive ailments. Beer jars found in kingly burials bear inscriptions denoting vintage, brewery location, and intended recipient god. Also, beer's economic significance cannot be overstated. It functioned as currency, paid to laborers who built pyramids, temples, and canal works, and financed temple endowments. Royal banquets utilized large ceramic jugs capable of holding dozens of liters, while individual goblets of silver or faience bespoke elite preference. Number 3. Wine from Delta vineyards. While beer served as the daily libation, wine retained an aura of aristocratic refinement. Vine cultivation flourished in oases and Nile Delta estates, benefiting from cooler microclimates and well-drained soils. Grape varieties like Mueller-Thurgau, like whites and early ripening reds. Winemaking began with foot treading in sunken stone vats. The must was transferred to sealed ceramic amphora, where wild yeast initiated fermentation. Inscriptions on amphora handles record vineyard names and vintage years, indicating burgeoning viticultural record-keeping. After a primary fermentation of several weeks, wine underwent fining. Priests added gelatin from fish bladders to clarify the liquid. Premium vintages destined for the pharaoh were decanted into alabaster jars, their translucent surfaces showcasing the wine's golden hue. Wine rituals included offering a libation to Re at dawn, followed by a ceremonial sip by the king. In banquets, wine was served in goblets of silver, sometimes chilled by slipping in refrigerated stones from desert quarries. The sensory interplay of wine's acidity, fruit notes, and royal ceremony elevated it above all other beverages. Number 4. Wild gazelle and antelope steaks. Next, hunting expeditions into the western desert served both practical and propagandistic ends. Pharaohs like Ramses II and Amenhotep III recorded hunts of gazelle, ibex, and antelope on temple walls. Meat from these hunts went directly to palace kitchens. There, chefs pounded the lean meat into thin steaks, then rubbed them with a paste of crushed cumin, coriander seeds, garlic, and a dash of red okra or paprika for color. After a brief marinade, the steaks threaded onto bronze skewers were grilled over open flames, imparting smoky char. The aromatic spices traded across the Red Sea and Levant elevated simple game into luxury fare. Gazelle steaks were served alongside fresh herb bundles, coriander, mint, and dill, and accompanied by bowls of fava bean puree or lentil stews. The textural interplay of crisp seared meat, gritty legumes, and verdant herbs created a multi-sensory experience. Court poets hailed these dishes in verse, celebrating the pharaoh's dominion over both desert and fertility realms. Number 5. Beef foreleg stew with leeks, garlic, and onions. By the New Kingdom, cattle breeding had become sufficiently advanced to allow regular consumption of beef at the royal table. The foreleg, cut dense with muscle and connective tissues, demanded long, slow cooking to break down collagen and yield succulent flesh. So in vast earthenware amphoras, chefs layered chunks of foreleg with coarsely chopped leeks, whole garlic cloves, and sliced onions. To enrich the broth, they steeped pieces of flatbread in water and poured the slurry over the meat, acting as a natural thickener. Seasoning came from crushed coriander, fennel seeds, and the occasional pinch of imported salt from the Sinai. This stew simmered over days in hearth-heated kitchens, monitored by master cooks using wooden ladles. When ready, the stew was strained and the meat plucked into small bowls, its juices poured over fava bean mash or barley pilaf. Greek historian Herodotus remarked the pharaohs dined on boiled beef daily, contrasting sharply with common folk who enjoyed meat only during festivals. Number 6. Pigeon and quail. Moreover, small birds such as pigeons and quail occupied a unique niche in royal cuisine. Their compact size and tender flesh lent themselves to elegant hors d'oeuvres. Chefs deftly deboned the birds, then minced the meat with sautéed leeks, onions, and ground lentils. The seasoned filling was wrapped in thin dough made from refined wheat flour and water and folded into triangular pockets. Contemporary researchers discovered 10 molds in worker villages at Giza, suggesting that these pastries were produced on a large scale. Molds also ensured uniform shapes and expedited baking in communal ovens. Now, once golden, pockets were arranged in concentric rings on platters, each triangle offering a bite-sized burst of savory aroma. They were passed among dignitaries using tongs of ivory or bronze. Their portability and ease of consumption without spoons or forks made them ideal for courtly receptions and diplomatic gatherings. Number 7. Duck and goose roast with date honey glaze. And among the most vivid images in tomb scenes are lineups of bronze platters bearing golden brown ducks and geese. Wild fowl from the marshes north of Cairo reached palatial kitchens, plucked, gutted, and occasionally force-fed figs for extra fattening. Chefs trussed the birds and skewered them over wood embers, turning them slowly to crisp the skin. After roasting, each bird received a brush of date syrup reduced to a viscous glaze, sometimes blended with honey and infused with cinnamon or pepper imported from Punt. The result gleamed like burnished metal under torchlight. Servants bore tray after tray into the banqueting hall, accompanied by jars of wine, bowls of pickled vegetables, and loaves of enriched bread. The juxtaposition of sweet glaze and rich meat delighted palates and emphasized Egypt's mastery of complementary flavors. Ceramic vessels used in preparation often feature images of geese, underscoring the bird's cultural resonance as a symbol of nourishment and plenty. Number 8. Fresh and dried fig medleys. Next, figs, both fresh and dried, featured prominently in pharaonic banquets as sweet treats, digestive aids, and offerings. Imperial orchards at Deir el-Medina cultivated black and green varieties pruned to encourage optimal fruiting. Seasonal figs were presented in woven baskets lined with lotus petals. Sun-dried figs, often threaded onto palm fronds to form garlands, served as preserved delicacies during inundation months. Chefs arranged platters combining figs with pomegranate arils, grapes, and dates. The visual mosaic of ruby red, amber, and emerald green made these fruit displays as much a feast for the eyes as the palate. Medical papyri praise figs' therapeutic virtues, their laxative properties, high fiber content, and abundance of vitamins. So, pharaohs struggling with the indulgences of courtly life reportedly consumed fig compotes to regulate digestion. At funerary banquets, fig medleys symbolized sweetness in the afterlife, ensuring the deceased enjoyed eternal abundance. Number 9. Pomegranate, jujube, and fresh herb salad. Now, although dressings and raw vegetables were less common in Egypt's hot climate, royal chefs crafted fresh salads for variety and color. Pomegranate seeds provided tart bursts. Their juice pressed over mixtures of torn lettuce, jujube berries, Ziziphus jujuba, and shredded purslane leaves. To bind the ingredients, cooks drizzled olive oil imported from Levantine ports. A light sprinkle of ground cumin, coriander, and black pepper completed the seasoning. Hieroglyphic labels on offering tables identify this combination as salad of life, associating its vibrant hues with fertility and regeneration. The crunch of purslane, the chew of jujube, and the pop of pomegranate engaged multiple textures. Served in shallow alabaster bowls, the salad refreshed dinners between heavier courses. Number 10. Tiger nut cakes, Hab al-Aziz. Next, tiger nuts, tubers of Cyprus esculentus, were cultivated in Egypt since pre-dynastic times. Their sweet, nutty flavor lent itself to cake production. Various tomb paintings illustrate the step-by-step crafting of tiger nut cakes, soaking tubers, grinding them in stone mortars, mixing with water, and kneading with honey and oil. The dough was molded into flat discs and baked under inverted clay lids, producing dense, moist cakes. Their high fat content allowed them to retain freshness for months, making them ideal for provisioning long journeys or for offering tomb goods intended to sustain the deceased in the afterlife. Modern experiments confirm these cakes' nutritional density, rich in fiber, healthy fats, and minerals such as magnesium. In Pharaonic banquets, tiger nut cakes were sliced like modern brownies and passed alongside wine and beer. They embodied the union of practicality and luxury. Everyday tubers transformed into storied delicacies. Number 11. Fish from the Nile. Additionally, fish were integral to Egyptian diet and myth. Roe, however, represented a rarer treat. After removing roe sacks, cooks washed them in salt water, then layered them between wooden boards weighted with stones. Over days, moisture pressed out, concentrating the roe into firm cakes. These were lightly dried in shaded courtyards to prevent spoilage. Sliced thin with copper knives, the roe cakes, akin to Mediterranean batarga, were drizzled with date syrup or honey vinegar before serving. Their briny intensity balanced sweet sauces on royal platters. Number 12. Daily Ritual Offering Feast. Beyond elaborate dishes, every morning temple kitchens assembled ritual offerings. Standard items included emmer loaves, jugs of barley beer, fresh fruits, figs and pomegranates, dairy products like soft cheeses pressed in rush baskets, and clarified butter, samna. Purified each item with sprays of natron water and recited hymns invoking deities such as Ra and Osiris. Offerings belonged to the gods, but leftovers called the god's share were consumed by temple personnel in the pharaoh's household. This communal meal underscored the link between divine favor and royal authority. Culinary techniques and kitchen organization. Clearly, Pharaonic kitchens combined specialization, ritual hygiene, and technological innovation. Bakeries and breweries shared workspaces to exploit common fermentation processes and yeast cultures. Large stone mortars and copper sickles attested to specialized tools for tubers, grains, and grapes. Clay ovens varied in form. Beehive domes for bread, low-arched trenches for bird roasting, shallow pits for fish. Fuel sources included acacia wood and agricultural refuse. Chief cooks oversaw teams of porters, grinders, and tasters. Spices and imports arrived via Red Sea trade. Frankincense and myrrh from Punt, cinnamon from Ceylon, and citrus fruits introduced during the New Kingdom. These exotic imports signal the pharaoh's global reach and enhance local flavors. Seasonal produce from royal gardens like lettuce, leeks, and garlic arrived daily, ensuring freshness and linking palace tables to the Nile's agricultural rhythms. So, Pharaonic banquets were microcosms of Egypt's prosperity, spirituality, and global connections. Kitchens served as crucibles of innovation, transforming humble grains, herbs, and fish into expressions of divine kingship. Today, echoes of these ancient dishes resonate in contemporary tables and ceremonial offerings, reminding us that food transcends mere nutrition. So what are your thoughts about these 12 opulent meals pharaohs dined on regularly? Share with us in the comments section below. Also, if you like this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content.